Welcome to Pick Up and Deliver, the podcast where I pick up my audio recorder as I head out for a walk and deliver an episode to you while I stroll around. I'm Brendan Riley. Well, good morning, listeners. It is a beautiful day here in suburban Chicago. The sun is out. The air is nice. It's not hot. It's not cold. My smart speaker told me it was 66 degrees outside, which is awfully warm for November, and I'm complaining about it from an environmental standpoint, but from a day-to-day experience standpoint, it's kind of nice today. So I'm walking up to the library to return a book and get another book, and then I'm walking home. It's a way to stretch my legs on this work from home work day. So I thought, since I'm doing that anyway, that I would chat with you about some games. That's right, it's time for Shooting from the Hip Triple Shot. Shooting from the Hip Triple Shot is a episode style in which I talk about some games I've played recently for the first or maybe first and second time. These aren't comprehensive reviews. I haven't played these games with enough depth to be able to confidently review them, but I can give you a first impression and let you know what I think of them having played them once, and am I going back to them again? Is this game staying in my playlist, or is this it for me? Am I done with this game and done with gaming forever? Probably not that second thing, but maybe I'm done with the game. We'll see. So I have 3 games to play plus a bonus. Normally I talk about 3 games. That's where the triple and the triple shot part comes from. Because generally with a brand new game that I've only played for a minute or one time or maybe 2 times, I don't have more than 5 minutes to say about it. So 15 minutes is the normal episode length. Bing, bang, boom. But I'm going to give you a little bonus as well, but that's not yet. First, I'm starting with a new game series from Ravensburger. I picked this up. This was $10 retail, so my guess is if you're getting it on Amazon or something, it's even cheaper. This is a new mystery in a box game. It comes in a small box, maybe a 3x5 box that's an inch thick, pretty small, because what you get is just a deck of cards and a QR code, or actually a deck of cards and then the link to the app. So Ravensburger, also the publishers of Exit the game, have this new series, and they have the adventure series as well. The dungeon is the one the volcanic island is the one that I've played from that series. So in Echoes, what you're doing is you're listening to audio clips, and your job is to listen to the audio clips and figure out which audio clip goes with which thing. So the game works, you get 18 cards, and they're in order, and you lay out 9 of them in a grid. Oh, no, I'm sorry. You don't just get 18 cards, you get 6 more, 24 cards. So you get 18 cards that you lay out in a grid, and then you put out the 6 event cards or category cards around the edge of that 9-card grid. Then you're gonna download the app for this particular game from Ravensburger, and you're gonna fire it up and play. We played the one called the microchip. Now the idea of these games is that you have a series of audio clips, and your goal is to figure out the story of the game or of the audio clips and put them in order. So we played the one called the microchip, and the premise of this one, it's the far future. Something went wrong with humankind in the past, and you found a cache of old material, and you're trying to figure out what went wrong in the past. So you're listening to these audio clips and putting them in order. It's a neat system. So there's, like I said, 9 cards in the grid. The app uses your camera to look at the card and then plays an audio clip associated with that card. Of course, you can replay it multiple times if you want. So the idea is you listen to the 9 cards, and then those 9 cards in that grid are each of the 9 cards is part of a set of 3. So you're going to get 3 sets of 3 out of the 9 cards. And then the cards have some art on them that helps guide you. And then you're going to take those set of 3 and arrange them in chronological order. What order do you think they go in? And then associate them with one of the 4 event cards, or one of the 3 event cards. Once you've done that with all 3 groups of cards, then you get 9 more cards in the middle, do it again, and now you have 6 groups of cards, and then you arrange those 6 groups of cards in chronological order to tell the full story. And one of the things we did not realize that we should have is when you get correct the 3 cards in a grouping, you get the 3 cards in an event, and then you connect it with the event. Once you make that connection, if you go back and once you make that connection, it starts playing the event again, and it sounds like it's just playing the sound clips that you assembled in order, but it actually adds more stuff to the sound. So you want to make sure if you're playing this to listen to the assembled sound as well. Don't just assume that you've heard it. It took us about an hour to play the game, and it was relatively easy. This almost isn't a game. It does like rate how well you've done and, you know, make a note if you're correct or incorrect, but there's not a whole lot to it, and it's easy to do. Doesn't really feel like a game. It definitely falls into the line of the activity end of gaming. That said, it was a good time, and with relatively cheap price and no destruction of components, it becomes something you can hand off to somebody else and share around with people. So that's Echoes the Microchip. Echoes the Microchip was designed by Matthew Dunstan and Dave Neal. Dunstan, of course, being one of my favorite design partners, he did stuff like Elysium and the Guild of Merchant Explorers. And Dave Neal is the mystery designer behind the most recent box from Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, as well as a number of other games. I did not realize this was a Dave Neal game. Well, that's fun. Yeah. So I had a good time with that. That's Echoes the Microchip. All right, the next game I want to talk about is another Dave Neal game, weirdly enough. This is Animals of Baker Street. Animals of Baker Street is the newest mystery game from Dave Neal. It has the look and feel of the Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective game in terms of its box size and shape. The publisher is ELO, and the designers are Clementine Beauvais and Dave Neal. In the Animals of Baker Street, you play one of 4 animals who are friends with Sherlock Holmes's dog, who is a bit too elderly to do any investigating, but is happy to give you cases. So the way the game works, you have a board with the different locations on it, and you each have a character who is good at particular things, and then you investigate different locations, and you get clues toward the solution of a mystery. And each time you go investigate something, you spend a clock token, so you have a limited number of places that you can go in order to solve the mystery. And the idea is to piece together the solution to the mystery before time runs out. This is a very family-friendly game. The animals are drawn in a very cutesy style. If you had any doubt about how cute these animals are, let me put it to you this way. There's a spider in this game, and I don't find the spider nauseatingly repellent, which is normally how I feel about spiders. So take that under advisement. This game is very cute. We played the tutorial round and the first mystery, both of which were pretty satisfying, neither of which was too difficult. This is definitely a family weight mystery game, but there still is enough meat on the bone to make it an amusing activity for adults too. It's not a mind-numbing family game. Like I said, it's very cute, very well made, but relatively slim in terms of its production. There are only 5 mysteries past the initial tutorial, so it is a bit light on components, and I'm curious to know whether they're going to support this with like another set of mysteries, which they could do as a relatively slim form-fitting thing. You could just buy a thin envelope with some more mysteries and the cards that go with it and so on. It feels like there's a little room for some additional expansion material there, but otherwise it's a nice diversion and a great game. I will fully disclose, this game was sent to me by Dave Neal. He and I have corresponded a few times on Board Game Geek because I read he was doing the Sherlock Holmes box, and he did a giveaway last year that I won. So I got this copy of Animals of Baker Street directly from him. So if that influences your sense of what I had to say about the game, so be it. So that's Animals of Baker Street from Yellow. Next up, I want to give you a bonus. This bonus is a quick discussion of a game experience I had that is not a brand new game, but rather like a new expansion of a game, and that is Scooby-Doo Betrayal at Haunted Mansion. As you know, the venerable original haunted house game Betrayal at House on the Hill has done 3 editions now. The first edition has the original werewolf on the cover and the Avalon Hill label. The second one is the sort of blue and green haunted house that's got a vaguely sinister face look to it. And then the third edition, the most recent one that comes out, has a slightly different look to it, kind of halfway between the two in terms of art styles. I haven't gotten to play the third edition yet. They did do an expansion to the second edition, which means that if you have the second edition as I do, there are 100 haunts available to you. They also have Betrayal Legacy and Betrayal at Baldur's Gate. So there's plenty of Betrayal options available to you if that's a game you like. Scooby-Doo Betrayal at Haunted Mansion is a children's version of Betrayal at House on the Hill. It's a little bit lighter in theme, but almost identical in terms of gameplay mechanisms and components and whatnot. In Scooby-Doo Betrayal at Haunted Mansion, you pick to be one of the Scooby Gang. So of course it plays 5 because you could be Fred, Daphne, Velma, Shaggy, or Scooby. And the game functions the same as it does in the normal Betrayal at House on the Hill. As you move around, you're revealing different locations. The game only has 2 different kinds of locations. There's outside and in the manor. They don't have multiple floors in the manor, so that level of confusion is not there. But as you go through, you're drawing tiles and expanding the mansion. You get different kinds of encounters on the tiles. There are events, there are items, and actually I think there's just events and items. I don't think that they have the 3 separate events, items, and omens. It's just events and items. And the items are overlap with the omens. Every time you get an item, you're also going to roll for a haunt. The dice and the way the game functions from that perspective is, like I said, almost identical. The big difference is theme, of course. This is a child-friendly version of Betrayal at House on the Hill, so the scary stuff is much more muted, at least in the one scenario we played. The other big difference is, while the game does not give you, I don't know if it suggests, I think it maybe suggests somebody to be the traitor, but it doesn't require it in the way that in Betrayal at House on the Hill, somebody just is the betrayer. In the Scooby-Doo one, there's a lot more room for the players to decide who is going to be the betrayer. And that's really effective, because if you're playing with a family, maybe the 8-year-old doesn't want to have to go read a separate rule book and be the betrayer. The game is much more helpful toward that kind of difference. Overall, if you are already a fan of Betrayal, you will probably enjoy Scooby-Doo Betrayal at Haunted Mansion, but I'm not sure that you're going to find it more satisfying than the other Betrayal games. I would probably put it on par with Betrayal at Baldur's Gate, designers Jay Cormier and Seng Foon Lim, and published by The Op. The art on that is Rich Hutchinson and Rob Lundy. And then finally, I'm going to jump into the third game, the last one that I want to talk about today, and this is Cthulhu Death May Die. This is a game that's been much published in other places, or much reviewed in other places, so I'm not sure how much I will have to add to the conversation. That said, it was my first play of it, so I thought I would reflect on it a little bit. Before I forget, Cthulhu Death May Die was designed by Rob Davio and Eric Lang. There are a bunch of artists recognized. You can follow my show notes to see that, and it's published by Cool Mini or Not, CMON. Come On is, I believe, how they prefer to be called now, but who knows. So in Cthulhu Death May Die, you play a ragtag bunch of adventurers trying to stop the elder gods from being summoned or something like that. The game plays up the silliness of the genre of adventurers trying to fight elder gods, just because the way that elder gods are described in the Cthulhu mythos, the idea that you would fight them with a machine gun or a stick of dynamite is kind of ludicrous. Generally, the elder gods are unstoppable, unknowable, unimaginable monsters that can turn worlds inside out. And so the idea that you would stop them with a Tommy gun is kind of silly. In Cthulhu Death May Die, they lean into that kind of silly. So you play a group of adventurers. You get to pick from this huge stack of adventurer cards that come with different minis. And the adventurers in the deck are mixes of public domain figures, rip-offs of popular culture characters, and real-life people. So for instance, I was Albert Einstein in our adventure, or Al as he's called. Each one has one special power that they can do that other people can't. And then they have shared actions. It is a rather conventional dungeon crawler. You are rolling dice to do stuff. You're moving through the space and attacking monsters. You're working as a team. There are overwhelming odds, but generally that's how the game is meant to be played. Now we learned the game and we played it. We had some bad luck early on, so our game didn't actually go that long. We probably made it 2/3 of the way through the first scenario, and we did not get to the part where we got to fight Cthulhu himself. I think it was a Shoggoth that was being summoned, Yog-Sothoth. So we did not get to fight him. Having played it once, I thought it was a fun game, an amusing adventure was to be played, and I really was looking forward to getting to finish the adventure, so it was a bummer that we lost. I would happily play this again if someone got it out, but when I think about dungeon crawls, this isn't generally a genre I have a ton of affinity for, with the exception of Gloomhaven, which almost feels more like a tactical puzzle than a dungeon crawl. If I am going to play a dungeon crawl, my inclination is to get out Hellboy, which I think is great, has a really innovative dice system, and has an IP I'm a bit more attached to than generic Cthulhu. That said, I also would balk at buying Cthulhu Death May Die. It's incredibly expensive, and like I said, I already bought Hellboy. But if you get a chance to play it, I thought Cthulhu Death May Die was really fun. It was very silly, like they lean into the fact that it's funny that Albert Einstein and Rasputin might be teamed up together to fight a Yog-Sothoth in Arkham, Massachusetts. But it works somehow. It's silly and fun and worth your time, I think, if you get a chance. So that's Cthulhu Death May Die. What games have you been playing new? What games have you tried recently? Head over to Board Game Geek Guild 3269 and share your thoughts on that. And until next time, I want to say thanks for joining me on my walk today. I hope that your next walk is as pleasant as mine was. Bye-bye.
Brought to you by Rattlebox Games.